Good evening, everybody. Welcome into the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. No, I'm just kidding. It is the NASCAR Pinty Series Power Hour here on G-Force TV. We're going to start off with some news right here. Donald Teej is back for 2023. Now, this is interesting stuff announced earlier this week. NASCAR.ca has the scoop here. Let's take a look from Teej 80 Inc., the team of Donald Teej. They're proud to announce that he is going to be back for their second NASCAR Pinty Series season as owner and driver. Boschtel Quebec driver is going to be set for another part-time season once again. However, there is some interesting notes here because it isn't exactly just a part-time schedule like what we saw in 2022. Let's take a look a little bit further in the details here. It says he's set for a part-time schedule in 2023 in the 80 Chevrolet. He's not going to change the number now, obviously. But let's take a look. He says, in our first season, a good results took time to arrive, which is true. It did take a while. But we showed speed, good speed at Chaudier, starting second and only missing the pole by 0.006 seconds, said Teej. We started the season with a new car from McCall Racing, which didn't get there, unfortunately. And they had to wait until after Sunset Speedway to get going, but so to get everything in line took 2 races. After that, we were competitive everywhere, which is true. In 2022, Teej picked up a total of 2 top 5s and 3 top 10s over 6 races with his best finish of second. Now, this was close. We talked about this on the episode last week. He could have finished first at Delaware Speedway. If he wanted to, he could have dumped Brandon Watson. He could have. He chose not to and raced like a gentleman because that's how Donald Teej races. But he also picked up the pole award in race 2 at Sutherland Automotive Speedway and started in the top 3 a total of 4 times. Like this is a brand new organization. Donald Teej, but he knows what he's doing. And to come back with starting in the top 3 4 times is extremely impressive in your first year. Teej continues with, last season it was a huge challenge to be a car owner and driver for the first time, but we took notes and changed a lot of things to be ready this season. This year we're going to focus on the oval races, but we will also be back on the road course in Trois Rivières for a total of 7 races. Our goal is to win another NASCAR Pinty Series race and be competitive at every event. Teej 80 Inc. is sponsored by Group Teej, which is a Honda, Acura, Mercedes-Benz, and GM dealership, and by XPN, which is high-quality vitamins, minerals, and dietary supplements. Let's take a look at what they've got for their schedule, of course. They've got their 7 races listed here. Sunset Speedway, Autodrome Chaudière, Eastbound Park, Edmonton International, Sutherland Automotive Speedway, the Grand Prix de Trois Rivières, and Delaware Speedway. So, 7 races for Donald Teej, somebody who we can always expect to do very well. Now, there was talk, obviously, last year that they were going to run maybe some other road course races. Doesn't look like that's going to happen this year. That's okay. 7 races for Donald Teej is still plenty. That's most of the schedule. Great opportunity for the veteran to come out. He did impress, I think, last year. If you haven't already, make sure you give us a thumbs up and subscribe to G-Force TV for more content all season long. Here on episode 39 of the NASCAR Pinty Series Power Hour, our weekly recap and weekly show talking all about the top NASCAR division in all of Canada. Thanks to, of course, G-Force TV for allowing us the opportunity to talk week in and week out about our favorite series and talking about things coming up. Well, we are very, very closely approaching the start of the season, and they've already been hyping us up the NASCAR Pinty Series way by putting out a teaser of sorts. It's the teaser that we see quite a bit on TSN, but if you haven't seen it already, we will play the video. Can't really play the audio, I don't believe, because of copyright reasons. I don't want the stream to get taken down, so we'll put the video up, but see exactly what we're talking about here. Hype as if we needed it. That's the one thing. we'll start with, how about this? The beauty shots. I would have loved a little bit more of the just describing where we went and where we're going. I think for tracks purposes, like the tracks themselves, would love that. Just a little bit of a little clue going, like we're going to Clarington, we're going to Edmonton or Wetaskiwin, we're going to Trois-Rivières, we're going to Mirabel, we're going to Delaware. I know some of the tracks would definitely love that, just that a little bit of additional push as to where exactly in Canada we're going. Reedson Media, nice to see you, buddy. I know you're pumped already, but I mean, I can't get enough of this promo. First off, ending it up with the GP3R, the Oshweekend win, the champion, of course, of Marc-Antoine Cameron. That shot with I'm going over Delaware Speedway. It is definitely something that I think we are glad to see. I mean, the promos are coming out because the season is almost here. We are 10 days away from officially being 1 month to the start of the season. And I know that the team at NASCAR is working round the clock to try and get stuff announced, try and get stuff put together for that first race. It is crunch time for them. And it is going to be a very, very busy season. Lots of stuff. I hope there's still plenty of stuff to come. We haven't had a ton of announcements. And that's, I think, what's very interesting right now is they're still waiting for announcements to come from the series, waiting for announcements to come from tracks. Normally, I would expect that being a month away from the season is when stuff will start to trickle in. Like, that's when all of a sudden we're not getting one announcement every couple of weeks. We're getting an announcement every day or every 2 days. There's plenty of names that are still out there that we have not received confirmation of what their schedules are going to be, to what capacity they're going to be, or if they are even going to be back at all. Plenty of names out there, and we'll get to some of those names when we get to our talk, which is going to be our possible entry lists for the first 3 events. I know it sounds crazy that we're already starting that out, but with some of the research that we've done, I think there's a good way of being able to find out some of those names that would be participating. Now, I'm sure there's a couple of more faces out there that are hiding and not going to release their plans until things are set in stone. And then there's others that might not even release any plans at all. That happens quite a bit, actually, where drivers and teams, they don't necessarily, there's nothing to change. There's no sort of difference from year to year. So they don't actually end up having any sort of press release. And we kind of see that with the guys that have been in it year and year and year after year after year after year, with no changes. So there's a couple of polls that I want to talk about on the NASCAR Pinty Series community page that we posted, just seeing what people are feeling and what people are doing. But of course, like I said, the thumbs up really does help. So if you can, give us a thumbs up on the on either Facebook or on YouTube. That is the primary source of the video. I just want to do a quick shout out to Spencer on vacation, who did help set up the video for tonight. He's always amazing. He, of course, he celebrated a birthday last week, so definitely want to thank him. Clinton and Adam, of course, they are in full force getting ready for the season with G-Force TV and, of course, with their duties, respective duties within Oshweekend Speedway and, of course, the NASCAR Pinty Series. So definitely want to thank those guys, doing an amazing job day in and day out, especially this time of the year. It gets really, really busy. So with 1 month and a little bit, I think it's a month and a week to go, I expect, like I said, we're going to see quite a lot of stuff coming in. Hopefully, more driver news. I don't know too much. There's a couple drivers I believe that for sure we have yet to hear from, but there's more than likely going to be some sort of announcement coming out regarding them. But there's a lot of question marks for myself right now. Like, I don't know a lot of people's schedules. So that'd be good to know. Just for all purposes, following up and making sure I include people as part of the roster, and especially when it comes out to some of those big events. I know we got to talk about Eastbound Park being, as Ryan would know, Radenson Media would definitely know that Eastbound Park is, I'm sure that they've got a lot of stuff that they want to get done as part of their plans for this year. Obviously, with having a Eastbound Park event, this is the second year that they would be putting on. We always know first years, that's always to get kind of the problems out of the way. Now, this is the year that you want to solidify things, and then the third year is when things should be perfect. And of course, nobody's perfect, but if you're wanting to get NASCAR to re-sign, you want to make sure that things are tip-top for the final of 3 races that you've signed a contract for. So the other thing that we have to remember is that Tony and his team are putting together the schedule. Their plans were to get the 2024 schedule to be released this summer. Okay, so there's no telling exactly if that's going to be June, July, or August, but let's take those 3 and say that the schedule is going to be set for next year. That gives a full calendar year for people to go out and find partnerships to be able to race in 2024. So talk about the best case scenario right there. That is what we want to hear from. That's what we want to see. Companies need that time, especially when they put their budgets together for the following year. Now, this is starting to be one of the harder off seasons, based off of the communications I've had with many people in the racing scene. It has been a very, very hard sell to get companies interested with the amount of inflation, with the amount of the cost of tires, the cost of really everything right now is just really high. So it's a tough sell. Whether or not we're going to see as many drivers full-time this year, I know that's been a very common question. I don't want people to get so hung up on how many full-time cars there are going to be, because that doesn't ruin the show. I think having plenty of part-time cars will still help with car counts, still make the events relevant. I don't think we're going to go back to a point where we have 13 cars in a race. I just don't see that. Whether or not we're going to get some struggles when we go out west or out east, that still remains to be seen. But I think when you have those very big pillars, and we call them pillars because they are really what's keeping us rooted right now in those big teams, the Team 3 Reds, the DJKs, the 22 Racings that have those rental rides, they typically do help out quite a bit. So hopefully we'll see some of those names solidify for this year. But again, I don't think announcements will be made just yet. I think we're getting close, and when they do come in, they'll tend to be a snowball effect. Donald Teague obviously follows Larry Jackson, follows Brandon Watson. So for right now, all we know is that there's going to be a scheduled a driver announcement each week up until the start of the season. That would be great. But there's still people that we're still waiting on. Trayton Lapsevich, still waiting to hear about him. Sam Fellows, Gary Clute, obviously names like Brett Taylor, Mark Dilley, TJ Renamato, Brandon McFarland. Is he going to come back for Eastbound Park? That's a big question mark as well. Names like that. Sarah Thorne, is she going to come back for that race at Eastbound Park? We already know Wayne Hanlon Jr. is going to race. LP Montour, Brent Weller, as these names are scrolling across the screen, it helps me. But Matthew Kingsbury is, I think, a big question mark, because Matthew Kingsbury was going to run more than just the Quebec races last year. Simone Dionvienne is another name we see right here. So there's a lot of names. I think a lot of people's question marks regarding Ray Jr. Cornamash and Raphael Lessard, Brian Cathcart, JF Dumoulin. So many names that we don't know what the plan is. We had 51 drivers run last year. 51. And I believe that might be up there as somewhat of a record in terms of recent memory. Will Alex LeBay run a couple of races? I mean, it was looking a little bit more likely, but now that he signed a new sponsor and ran the best finish for DGM Racing at Richmond, maybe not. Maybe he will continue to run the Xfinity Series this year. Perfect example there. We see Matthew Scannell. We did have his confirmation that he is going to run a couple of races, but then you've got Sarah Thorne, who I think I'd like to see another race out of her at Eastbound Park. Again, it's adjustment period for a lot of these guys and gals. So take a quick look here at our some more of the announcements actually that we had on the page, and we'll take a quick look at some of the other stuff that took place. How about this one? I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but Delaware tickets are already on sale. This is fantastic. Get your tickets already for the Ontario Sportsman Series, the United Racing Series, NASCAR Pinty Series, Outlaw Super Late Models, Oscar, and the Must Truck Throwdown, all at Delaware Speedway. They're all available on sale right now. Camping as well will be available in the coming weeks, but tickets are now available for those events. So get your tickets now for the Fall Brawl. You definitely won't want to miss it. How about this? A great milestone. 40 years of Choco Authentics. And if you don't know Choco Authentics, that is, of course, the company run by Ed Hackinson and family. Ed Hackinson, of course, the team owner of Team 3 Red, celebrating from 1983 to 2023. Unbelievable to think that that's 40 years already. But let's take a quick look at their announcement. And this is a big one. Choco Authentics, we are so excited to be kicking off a year of celebrations in honor of our 40th anniversary. Founded in 1983 by current owner Ed Hackinson, Choco is still privately family-owned and operated. In 1983, Ed decided to leave his position at Yamaha Motor Corporation to strike out on his own and begin building a dream. Never one to shy away from a challenge, Choco started off in wife Heidi's garage with 4 small children, aged 6, 4, 2, and a newborn at home. Ed brought the brand to life, designing high-end snowmobile suits and apparel for the developing leisure markets. 40 years later, a booming and successful business with the trust of numerous reputable automotive and agricultural companies, it was quite obviously an incredible decision. Thank you for your continued support and trust in your apparel and accessory needs. Choco celebrating 40 years. Congratulations to Team 3 Red, Ed Hackinson, Jamie Hackinson, Jason Hathaway, and the entire team at Choco. Of course, they've always had Choco on their cars. And then we'll get a nice little look here, a nice little confirmation here. It was announced by Autodrome Chaudière that their race is going to be a 300 lapper, back to 300 lappers instead of a 250, so the additional 50 laps. Fantastic decision. Obviously, it's going to mean we're going to get a stage break at lap 150 and then run a following 150 for your 300 laps. Autodrome Chaudière, what a racetrack. What a great show. Can't wait to see that. So congratulations to them. Now, there was a further announcement, and this one comes out of Edmonton International Raceway. How about this one? They have... well, this is awesome. I mean, it's just about sold out for the reserve seats at Edmonton International Raceway. Their race isn't until the end of July, July 22nd, and they are almost sold out of reserve seats at the start-finish line. That is phenomenal. That is what we want to see for the Bayer 300, for Wetaskiwin, for Edmonton International Raceway and Loretta Thiering. That is absolutely fantastic to be sold out of reserve seating. That is what you want to hear. They typically have great crowds out in the West, and this is just perfect news before we head out there for the Western events. Very happy to see this and very excited for them. I wouldn't have thought that tickets would be almost sold out for reserve seating in April for a race that's not until July. This is excellent. So congratulations to them. Congratulations to the Bayer 300 team out at Wetaskiwin at Edmonton International Raceway. Huge news. Now, we threw out a couple of posts, a couple of quick and easy polls. Now, one poll was put out there. I put it out quite a bit late, right before the show started. So we'll get to that one in a second. But there's a couple drivers that did not win races last year. We had Marc-Antoine Cameron, DJ Kennington, Tagliani, Watson, Lapsevich, Lacroix, Ranger, and Gannett. They all won a race last year. But there's a bunch that didn't. And I picked only a couple. I didn't pick everybody out there. So you got JP Bergeron, Kyle Steckley, Thomas Neveau. Daniel Bois, LP Dumoulin, Gary Clute, Donald Teach, Dexter Stacy, and Sam Fellows. Who is going to get a win in 2023? Now, obviously, there could be more drivers that get a win this year, but of these guys, who is going to get one? And not surprisingly, Kyle Steckley leads the way at 39% of the votes. 23% is LP Dumoulin. And why do I pick LP over Kyle Steckley? Well, because I can't see LP Dumoulin in the WeatherTech 47 team. I can't really see them going 2 years without a victory. It would be very, 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 very unlikely in my book, especially with how good he is on road courses. The only difference is everything going to be back and up to par with the 47 team dueling competition? Obviously, LP is extremely talented. They had some bad luck last year too, so I wouldn't be shocked if he gets out there and gets a win. I do think it's going to be tougher, though, for him comparative to previous years. The talent pool in the series is a lot harder than it was back in 2014, 2015, 2016, and so on. So I definitely think, though, it was a bit of a change for them to not have Robin McCluskey on the box, and I think that's going to be probably the biggest change. But the WeatherTech team is still ready to come. He was at Motorama. He was signing autographs, came down and put on a show for the fans. So definitely that is somebody that you're gonna have to watch for. Sam Fellows added him to the poll late because I did forget to add him originally. Now, gonna ask this one here. Are you planning on attending the NASCAR Pinty Series opener at Sunset Speedway? Now, of course, this was not, it was only about 46 minutes ago. So not that long of a wait. But yes, no, and undecided. Well, I'll tell you right now, no is definitely losing. 22% say no. 45 votes. Not a ton of people have voted yet. But 46%, almost 50% of the votes saying, yes, we are. And then the other 32% are undecided. Why do I think a lot of people are undecided? Well, because they wait until the weather. That's, I think, what a lot of fans do. We wait right until the weekend to see if it's going to rain. If it's going to rain and it's going to be miserable, I think some fans would rather just stay home. Some others that are troopers will go out there. Doesn't matter. Rain, shine, snow, sleet, hurricanes. We saw it last year at CTMP. Doesn't matter. But 32% are undecided. 46% are a yes. So that is an excellent start to our poll for this year. Jeff Hessel says he will be there. In the comments section, we've got Lindsay Wendell says she's got her tickets already. Joe Ridgewell says, no, I will be in North Wilkes-Barre. Okay, that's fair enough. I will say that's okay. But he will be there for the fall brawl, so we still got tickets going to go and be at the NASCAR Pinty Series race. Sharon Kidd Hunter says yes. And, of course, our good friend Jeff Gottler, spotter for EHR, says he'll think about it. So Jeff always with a funny comment there. Awesome to see. This is great news. This is excellent news. This is the steam that we need for the NASCAR Pinty Series to pick up. I think that there's a lot more that will happen to continue to get people excited. Obviously, the NASCAR Pinty Series has picked up in viewership over the past couple of years. And again, is it better to watch it live than to watch on TV? Yes, it definitely is. Watch it live. I'm telling you guys, doesn't do justice to catch it on TV. So, this is the exciting stuff. We have a lot of stuff that Rick Verburn says he thinks he might go. Well, I don't know, Rick. I kind of feel like you need to go. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe your role is different now. I don't know. I'm just saying. But Jim Haynes says your races are a bit of a drive for me. Have to watch on Flow when we aren't racing or replay the next day. You know what though, Jim? Listen, that's completely valid. It is a hike coming from the United States to come up and watch a race with us. But you know what I would say is I think that you have opportunities that if you're going to go to do a 2-day event, I think that helps. So say Ohsweken Speedway on a Monday, Tuesday, definitely that is an option for you to come on up and do a Monday, Tuesday, or even come up on the Friday and watch the whole weekend's worth of Canadian Short Track Nationals at Oshweekend Speedway, and then the NASCAR Pinty Series on the Monday, Tuesday. I think that's definitely a great option. Other things that you can do is come up for the Toronto Indy. There's racing all weekend long there. Other options, if you wanted to go out west, you have the options there at Edmonton and, of course, at Saskatoon. So there's lots of options there, but I completely understand, and I know that there'll be races that I will be watching from home this year because I am not able to get out to those racetracks, similarly to like the GP3Rs, Eastbound Park. Again, just because Chaudier, I mean, we looked at doing the Chaudier race, but for us even, that is quite a hike. It's, I believe, 8 hours and 16 minutes, which, I mean, for some people, for these guys that go out and do it all the time, that's not a problem. But for some of us that are not used to long-ass road trips, who aren't used to driving away from home, it can be a little bit different. Mr. Showbiz Guy says, especially Sunset Racing all throughout the field. I think Sunset has put up a lot this year, Mr. Showbiz Guy. They are becoming one of my favorite tracks to follow. Brendan Doherty, the Todishes, Sandra, and Brian have put a lot into the offseason. They've got a lot happening. Now, the NASCAR Pinty Series race is not going to be the only race that's happening that day. You're going to have the Big Z Memorial, the Bill Zardo Memorial Hot Rod race, $4,600, which is by far one of the biggest purses that a hot rod field has seen to date to win the race. Now, I'm hoping that doesn't mean we're going to have a big wreck fest. We don't need that. They've seen enough wrecks in the hot rod division. There was a massive wreck last year at Delaware Speedway that took out one of my favorites, Amanda Balson, Jeremy Taggart, Chris Lawrence was in it. A massive wreck. Bill Breckelman's had a Camino and the whole back was off of it. So we don't need any more of that. But I think there's definitely going to be some of the awesome stuff. Can't really miss our events being an official, but someday. Well, Jim, hey, the option is there. Definitely, obviously, being an official, it makes it a little bit difficult for you to miss things. But, maybe just do a swap one day. You swap with Rick Verburn, and he'll be an official down with you guys, and you'll be a crew chief for DJ Kennington. Maybe that would be a cool option there. But we're going to take a quick look here at what we've got for some potential entries. Now, I'll tell you right away, okay? I'm guessing for a lot of this stuff. Obviously, there's some names that are... there are some names that... Mr. Showbiz Guy, there was a big wreck at Sunset as well. But the big wreck that I'm thinking of was in the Oscar Hot Rods. It is on YouTube, on GeForce TV. And when I tell you it was massive, it was massive. I couldn't believe that they wrecked as hard as they did out there. Nick Clark's Clipper Packard. Nick Clark, actually, Jeff, it's funny you mentioned that. Nick Clark's going to be on the Stickers and Scuffs podcast this week. I can't wait to talk to him about all the stuff that he has going on for sure. Because Nick Clark is one of those guys that literally doesn't stop with putting hot rods together. So I absolutely love that division so much. I couldn't tell you a lick about the cars. I'm not a specialist when it comes to like the actual names of cars, but all I can tell you is that the variety makes it so worth it just to go and catch those races. Jeff, I mean, you've seen them at Delaware Speedway. Those guys get after it too, and it is one hell of a series. But this is the series that we're talking about right now, the Pinty Series possible entry list. Now, first 3 events. I don't have confirmations from the teams here. This is purely speculation based on either history or previous announcements made. So Glenn Starsberg is always running full-time. So that was an easy fix. Same with JP Bergeron, same with Alex Gannett. Now, Trevor Monahan, Trevor's talked about doing oval track races, but did not talk about going out of province. So I'm going to kibosh potentially CTMP. And Shody, I believe he was looking for a road course car. Maybe to run CTMP, I'm not sure. But I think Trevor Monahan would be a fair bet to be at Sunset Speedway. Whereas when we switch to the number 6 for Peter and Ryan Clute, I don't think I've ever seen that car on an oval track. maybe they had more cars previously, but I'm going to go and say CTMP is pretty much a good bet for the Klutes. That's typically where they run out of. Brandon Watson, we did have a confirmation that he's going to run full-time this year, so put all those names in there. Matthew Kingsbury, now, there's not been an announcement yet for him for Pinty's. However, he has announced that he's going to run the ACT Series. Now, I hope he's not done with the Pinty Series. I really hope, because I think Matthew Kingsbury has one of the best-looking race cars out there. I think he's definitely an up-and-coming competitor. I put Sunset Speedway because he was going to be at Sunset last year, but the weather didn't play a good card for that team, and they didn't make the trip because of that. I do think that the options are there. If he would like to be in the series, that he's going to do Sunset Speedway along with Chaudier. I'd be very curious to see what their schedule looks like. If he's going to even run full-time, that would be something to the Duro King Autosport team. So paying attention on their social media to see what they're going to do. LP1 Tour, I just expect to see him. If he's going to be back, he's going to run the road course races again. Unless he's got an inkling and an interest on running the full season. I'd love to see a second Dumoulin competition full-time entry. That would be great to see that. I don't know if the team has it in them to do that, or if LP is interested in running a full season. DJ Kennington, Alex Tagliani, we know that they're full-time this year, so we're going to keep those check marks there. Kyle Steckley, running the short tracks. We know that he's going to run a part-time schedule again. I believe it was announced that he's doing part-time races. So if I'm looking at what Kyle Steckley is going to run, I can't see a lot of stuff being out of province. Obviously, running out in Saskatoon he's probably going to do that again. I would think that he's already raced there, so it wouldn't be too crazy to think that he's going to go back out there and do it again. I would say Sunset Speedway. I would say Delaware Speedway. I'd say Delaware again, but I think he'd do Sunset, and I think he's going to do CTMP. He posted a picture of a seat insert. Maybe it was just a seat, talking about turning right and left this year. Well, he doesn't do that in the APC series, so that leaves the NASCAR Pinty series. Do I think he's going to go out to Quebec? I don't know if APC has stores out in Quebec, so I would still think that CTMP is going to be a likelihood. Toronto, I don't know. I think CTMP is a little bit safer because he's got a lot of runoff room, so he's still very inexperienced when it comes to doing road courses. So I wouldn't think that he's going to do too much of that. And then if he does part-time again this year, then maybe he'll do full-time again next year. Or maybe he'll do full-time next year. Thomas Nouveau, we already know he's full-time this year. Andrew Ranger are full-time this year. So those both look like likelihoods that they're going to be for those top first three races of the season. So far, we're not too crazy. I think we're looking similar to what we've seen in the past. Now let's go to our next. Now, Rick probably doesn't like me putting this up there, but I'm just going to throw it out there because I have no idea. But DJK normally runs the 28 car in a couple of events. They ran at Delaware last year, ran Eastbound Park. I believe they ran out at Saskatoon. Typically, they have a rental car, as we'll call it, available. I have no idea if this 28 car is going to run at all, aside for Delaware. And as far as I know, it's just Delaware right now that the 28 car is going to run. I know Wayne Hanlon has a car out of DJK Racing, which I think is going to be the number 11. So I think that's going to be the big difference there. Whether or not this car runs at any of these other races, I have no idea. So I'm just putting it on there for now, just in case there is somebody that does come out there. But Daniel Bois, I love this one. Daniel Bois is going to be running Sunset Speedway. He is going to be running at CTMP. Chaudier, not so much, but definitely exciting stuff for him. Edmonton International Raceway. I'm a little surprised that you're saying that, Owl, but I don't know anything about the other stuff that you had mentioned previously. So LP Dumoulin, Chantel Kalika, obviously, we're not racing until she gets out there with the West. LP Dumoulin, Simone de Vienne is an interesting one because Simone hasn't posted his actual schedule yet, but did mention again the first race of the season for him being at CTMP. So and he being so excited to get back to CTMP. And Simone is somebody I multiple times have tried to actually meet at the racetrack and never have gotten an opportunity to. GP3R, the timing was off. The drivers were going elsewhere when we were there. So we only got to meet a couple of guys. It was also 44 degrees out, and it was hard to breathe and hard to move. And so we'll see. We'll see what goes on there. How you doing, Rick? I got your boy on tonight here, Rick. I didn't add a 3 onto the front, but repping the LP Dumoulin train here with WeatherTech Racing. Chantel Kalika, I would love it if Chantel could get some funding to run more than just these races, but which she runs out west. Having some other ones done would be great, but for now, we'll see. Wallace Stacy, definitely. Wallace is he's always fun to watch out there, and Wallace is not fully announced yet, but I believe the plans are for him to be back full-time this year. Kevin Lacroix, I already know he's full-time. Jocelyn Fecteau, they had somebody out there double-checking the car, checking it for legality, and so obviously if you're going to do that, Jocelyn has also talked about wanting to get back to CTMP, so I would expect that he's going to try and make that first race for the road course races this year at CTMP. Donald Teague, we know he's full-time to a point. He's not every race. He's doing all the ovals, but he's not doing all the road courses. He is going to go to GP3R, though. That is the big change for him, which makes sense. For a Quebec driver out of Bochetel, Quebec, it makes a lot of sense for him to make the big race at GP3R. That is, without Jacasa, Delaware sure is a big race for a finale, but it isn't the biggest. I think we all know that GP3R is the biggest race on the schedule right now. Most prestige, especially for those Quebec drivers. I know nothing about that. I don't know who that guy is, so I don't know anything about it. Larry Jackson, yeah. Old Larry is definitely trying. He's going to try and do the full season this year, which is awesome to hear because I know they were trying to do that last year and it didn't work out, and unfortunately, that's just how it goes sometimes. I know the plan is that they're going to come back and run as many if they can, do the full season. Dexter Stacy going to be at Talladega. Actually, I'm going to run and try and make the race with MBM Motorsports. Marc-Antoine Cameron, no official announcement yet. I doubt that any change is going to take place there. I can't see that the champion is not going to be back. Sam Fellows is an interesting one. Last I talked with Sam, which was a while ago, it was still about needing funding. And CTMP would seem likely. Sunset would seem likely. I don't know about if their funding isn't what it needs to be. I would say that maybe not Chaudier. I would say probably not the Western races in Eastbound Park. So I'm not sure. That's one of those things that it's a tough deal either way, because I think Sam Fellows has a lot of name recognition. He's definitely somebody who deserves to have a seat, not just because of his last name. Obviously, that is a big question mark. Rick posts a very interesting question. Is Pinty's going to use the choose cone? I don't know, Rick. There's not been an announcement made on that yet. I don't expect that they would make one brash like this. They would make... typically what the series does is they do make a post previous to the season starting about any changes stuff that's going to be made known before the start of the season. I have not heard anybody talking about whether or not it's actually going to happen. I've had a lot of fans asking if it's going to happen. Reason a lot of people are asking, Sunset Speedway is now a NASCAR home track. And again, they were previously a NASCAR home track. They've reestablished their connection with NASCAR. They've reestablished being a NASCAR home track this year. So I would think so, but the problem is that not every track that they go to is a NASCAR, quote, NASCAR home track. Sunset is. And I don't think Sunset dictates the rules. NASCAR dictates it for their series. So while the hot rod race very well could have the cone rule because it's a NASCAR home track, it's very possible that the actual NASCAR Pinty's race will not. All I can say is that I would pose it to them and ask them if that's something that they're thinking about. It might not be. I don't particularly know why it wouldn't be okay. But I also don't think that the series really needs it. We've seen the last couple of years, we don't need it. The action is fine. One of the things that I think would be interesting, though, is if, say, we did do it on the road courses, like they're doing now. That's a little bit interesting. Whether or not we're going to need a choose cone across the board. I mean, places like Delaware, I think, have done it in the past. If I'm not mistaken, it was a regular part of their short track racing program. But as long as it's an actual cone, I don't want to see anything painted on the tracks. Just make it a cone. It's easier. But I think a lot of people would want to see it, Rick. Honestly, I do. I think it's something that a lot of people have talked about. Lastly, Matthew Scannell, we know CTMP, that's going to likely happen for him. JF Dumoulin, I have not heard anything, and I know JF has talked about before really only wanting to do the Crown Jewel event. Trayton Lapsovich, there's not been an announcement made, but I'm going to say if he is going to run this year, if he's going to run full-time, he's going to be in all three of these races. If he isn't, then I would say take maybe Chaudier out of it. I think the first thing that gets cut for guys, if they're not going to run full season, is out-of-province races. I would think so. Okay, you go out there and get it after the choose is done? Oh, yeah, sure. Tim, I thought that was your goal, huh? Hey, we're going to get you out there to be the official choose cone getter. Hey, Tim? Knowing me, I would take too long to get out there to get the cone, or I'd trip and fall or something like that, and they'd have to get an ambulance out on the racetrack to pull me off of it. But Gary Clute, that's a question mark for me right now. Gary doesn't typically make a big announcement for his plans, but he's got a young one at home now. So for the first three races, I don't know. I think it all depends on that almighty funding, the new Techwood car. I would love to see new Techwood back on it. Okay. I'm sorry to hear that, Tim. But Brent Weller, yeah, I can see Brent coming back once again. David Thorndike, Brian Cathcart. If Cathcart's going to back it up a little bit and not do as much, I could definitely see. Some issues there. That's one thing that's going to be an issue for people if they're going to back out a little bit. It's like, what do you do? Do you just back out completely and not do any races, or maybe you just cut down and do a couple? I think Brian, he just like goes out there and has some fun, and for him, I'd personally love to see him at every race. I love Brian Cathcart. I think he's one of the nicest guys out there, one of the most humble. Doesn't go out there and battle for wins, but he, Glenn Stiers and Wallace Stacy put on such fun last year, the battles that those three had. So I really hope that we get to see that again, because they almost had, it was like a race between the three of them in every race. So, but again, Brian also was not able to do every race last year, funding and mechanical troubles. for sure that played a role in it. And then the 56 of Jim Bray. I'm not sure what's going to go out and happen there, but there's definitely something that I hope to see is that 56 come back out there. I definitely think that Brandon McFarlane would be a great guy to get back out there. He looked like he was getting the hang of the car. They had some mechanical problems, I believe, when they were out at Eastbound Park. So it is wild. Tim says, it's wild that guys love doing CTP over many others when globally known drivers have labeled CTP as one of the fastest technical tracks in the world. It's true. But I think there's just something about it, right? That people absolutely love that track. It's also one of the biggest crowds that we get. And that could also be one of the reasons. It's a lot closer to Toronto. It's a lot closer to the hub of Ontario. It's not that far, really, when you think about it, for a lot of people to get to. There's a big difference between trying to get people to go from one end of the province to the other, especially because CTMP, they can camp there, and there's a lot of camping. I know CTMP it's still one of those places that people are like, oh, I want to have a cup race here. I don't think it's going to be a viable option, unfortunately. I know that there's a lot of places that people want to see cup races, Xfinity trucks. I personally still think that if you're going to do a cup race in Montreal, definitely, definitely, for the one thing, Tim is, and this is a very important thing, is you got to have double value. And Montreal is one thing, but if I'm going to have Montreal, I want to see something at CTMP. I don't want to see nothing. So I'd say Xfinity. I don't think that's one of the things that is frustrating for me, is it always seems like it's one or the other. Why can't we get both? And I understand it's about like the selling point and stuff, but I think for like our drivers, for the Pinty Series drivers, it would be a lot easier for them to get into an Xfinity Series ride than a Cup ride for the weekend. So I guess that's where because when you would have thought that for the Truck Series too, right? But I think in the Xfinity Series, there's a lot more faces that would take rental positions. RSS Racing, take a perfect example right there. Joey Gase's team would have rentals. NBM Motorsports would have a rental. So like you already have plenty of options for some of the Pinty's guys to get out there and race. Truck Series, I would have expected that we were going to get more, but the problem became that we weren't getting enough trucks going out to those races. We did see races where we got Jason Hathaway and DJ Kennington, and it sucks, though. It sucks that we weren't able to get more guys out there, especially from our Premier Series. I think one of the goals is that if we do have a race, if it's Cup, if it's Xfinity, you need to have at least 4 or 5 Pinty's drivers compete. And I'm not talking just about Alex Tagliani and DJ Kennington. You need to have some of those names like Andrew Ranger, Marc-Antoine Cameron. You need to get Gary Clute. You need to get faces, Trayton Lapsevich, Kevin Lacroix. You need to get some of those guys and gals into the series. Promote Canadian racing. Now, Montreal did that when the Xfinity Series came there. Andrew Ranger was part of it. J.R. Fitzpatrick was part of it. Don Thompson, Scott Steckley, Tagliani. I think, Rick, that Tag, we already know Tag could have won a couple of those races. He had that one at, Mid-Ohio? He had it won before Regan Smith just booted him out of the way. And Tags was just too nice at the end of it. Like, he should have destroyed him for wrecking him, pushing him out of the way, at least at the very end. Andrew Ranger finished third in the Xfinity Series. I believe that was the year he drove for the Incredible Pizza Company team in the 11 car. So our guys do really good in those cars. And for myself, I desperately want to see LP Dumoulin in one of those cars. I desperately want to see Kevin Lacroix in those cars, Trayton Lapsevich, because I think for us, it's all about what can our stars show. And Alex Labbe, no offense to Alex Labbe, but the equipment at DGM is very different comparative to, say, Joe Gibbs Racing, to Hendrick Motorsports, to Junior Motorsports. If some of our drivers could get the opportunities, we've seen Rafael Lessard got into KBM. It didn't have the easiest time, unfortunately. But you look and you see there are some guys that have true talent in this series. And if given the opportunity to be in viable seats for a Cup event or for a Xfinity event, they could do really, really well. I think Xfinity a little bit more than the Cup Series. Now, comparable would be, say, the ARCA Series, where I think if we get some of our guys in the ARCA race, they would destroy. No qualms about it. I think we've seen it with Andrew Ranger. Andrew Ranger got into a couple of ARCA races, K&N West, I think it was, and East, and he won all of them. Like, there's a couple of races that it was not promoted, like, it wasn't well known. That's the one thing that was really sucky about it, is he drove that 35 Waste Management car, and no one really knew that he got out there and won the races. I think another one, like you said, Rick, is LP, Trans Am driver, does really well in the Trans Am series. Other drivers like the Klutz have run in Trans Am. So the talent level is here. JF Dumoulin in sports cars, Marc-Antoine Cameron in sports cars. The talent level is definitely there. Daniel Bois is another one that I think would be lights out if he got an opportunity in a really good car. You don't get to be a driving instructor if you're not a good driver. LP Dumoulin, JF Dumoulin, Andrew Ranger, Daniel Bois, Malcolm Strawn. These are all names that have come from our series. Kyle Marcelli, look out what he's doing right now. Even he was a well-known sports car driver before, but still going out there and performing well. And I think that's that one of the things that we can look forward to this season. I mean, we've got the first 3 scheduled races that we're looking at right now, but in terms of what's coming up, you got 14 races that you've got to be best of the best during. But if that Cup Series event happens in 2024, again, you have to get out there. If you don't get out there and get some of the biggest racers in our series there, that would be a failure. Now, do I expect the promoters of our series, the promoters of the Cup Series and Xfinity Series to have that happen? No, I think that they would be. I think what would be friggin' amazing, and I think is specifically if the Cup Series is there that weekend, the Pinty Series has to be a companion event. And then there's the options of having some of the Cup guys in NASCAR Pinty Series cars for that weekend in Montreal. And I am here for it 1,000%, because we know Dumoulin Competition would have 1 to 2 additional cars. DJK would have additional cars. 22 Racing, EHR. All of a sudden now you're getting Kyle Larson potentially, or Kyle Busch, or Christopher Bell. You're really getting some names into these Pinty's cars. And I think we could finally see our drivers up against Cup drivers. Tim Gerald says, Russell drove Hamilton's Mercedes and did really well lately. Jordan Taylor, yes, great choice. And Josh Berry in the Hendrick 3. Sheridan, yes, absolutely. In the 3, absolutely drop a good driver in a good car, and let's see what happens. And I would venture a guess, Tim. It's hard to pick who is the top driver in our series right now. I wouldn't say. I think I can go against Andrew Ranger. I think he's all around road course and oval right now the best in our series. Now I think Trayton Lapsevich, Kyle Steckley have opportunities to be there. I don't think they're there yet. Kevin Lacroix is definitely up there. How many times have you said to someone, so and so would do well if he drove X car, but until Russell, we never actually saw it? We don't. You don't. They don't typically do it. And I actually really applaud Hendrick Motorsports for putting Josh Berry in that car, because they could have gone the normal route and put Justin Allgaier or put Brandon Jones in the 9 car, but they went with Josh Berry. And the guy is amazing, his story. Absolutely amazing. And I think that's what a series like this could really benefit from, is that cup exposure. Xfinity is one thing. But I think what tends to happen is that people that don't follow the series enough look for the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series. It's not existent anymore. It's the NASCAR Pinty Series. Look for CASCAR, non-existent anymore. The Pinty Series has gotten more shout-outs in recent memory than I ever remember it getting. Thanks to specifically Alex Labbe. I think Michael Waltrip always brings up Alex Labbe. They do forget quite a bit that he is a Pinty's champion. They don't seem to remember that part of it. They'll say it's Alex Labbe from Canada, and he was from the Canadian Series. So, I mean, that obviously we could use a little bit more of that kind of bump, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. mentioning, and he called it the Pinty's Series, so a little off on the name pronunciation, but would love to see Stuart Friesen in the Hendrick number 9 at Bristol Dirt. Did they announce, Rick, who's going to be in the 9 car for the dirt race? I'm guessing, is it Josh Berry? I'm guessing that Josh Berry deal was a push from Dale Jr. Absolutely it was. Absolutely. It could also be from Chase Elliott, though, too. But that's another person. You think about, like, Chase Elliott could be in a second Kevin Lacroix car if they do a race in Montreal. Absolutely possible with Napa. Absolutely possible. 74 and a 79. Because I can't run the 9 car because Brandon Watson's taking it. So that excitement, man. We're getting so close to the start of the season, and there's lots more to continue to talk about. You expect there will be more and more announcements coming out. So keep it tuned to the NASCAR.ca site. Follow the NASCAR Pinty Series on social media. NASCAR Pinty Series community page. If you haven't already, we're 6.7K strong. Continuing trying to get to 10,000 members by the end of this season. Again, if you haven't already, join GeForce TV. Subscribe to our channel. Give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. We've only got 8 thumbs up right now, so we need a couple more. Get us up to at least 10 for the NASCAR Pinty Series Power Hour, episode 39. So next week we hit a 40th episode of the Power Hour here on GeForce TV. And we haven't even started the season yet. That's the crazy thing. We still have the season to start. Sunset Speedway, season opener, May 13th. Make sure you go out there. Get yourself time off. Get yourself your tickets. Get yourself ready to go. Because we are going to have one hell of a season this year. We're going to have lots of fun. Lots of interviews. Talk with a lot of great people. Hitting the like button. It's free. And you know what? What's also great is that if you subscribe to GeForce TV, you get great weekly racing content out of Schweikens Speedway and the APC Late Model Series for absolutely free. All you have to do is subscribe. And if you know what, turn the bell on for the notifications, because when you turn the bell on, hey, look at that, we got up to 10. Thank you guys so much. If you subscribe, but also hit the bell, you will get notified when there's live content on the channel. So as soon as we go live, you will get notified so that you know to get over to the channel, because there's live content happening. Race Rivals Race Chat is going to be a bit of a replay, I think, tomorrow. It's their showcase from Motorama, so definitely check that out tomorrow. Race Rivals Race Chat at 8 p.m. We are ready to hit the ground running for the NASCAR Pinty Series this year. Thank you guys all so much for showing up. Once again, I really appreciate it. We will catch you all next week here on the NASCAR Pinty